is going to focus on introducing you to my daughter, Julia. I talk about her all the time in my videos and I write about her in my blogs. And so I think it's important that you get to know a name to the face that I talk about all the time. And for parents, I hope it's inspiring, but I really think it's important for children to see other children like them. And for us right now, a success story is even better because I desperately needed to hear our story and see somebody like us. So I'm going to be interviewing her, which is a little bit weird because I've never really asked her questions and then she has to answer them because I already know it. But I thought this was a great way for other people to get to know the person that I write about, but also somebody who is very similar in many ways to what your children are going through. So this is Julia. Julia, tell us a little about yourself.
So I just turned 14 on June 2nd, which is crazy to say. But I also obviously have severe anxiety or had severe anxiety. So yeah.
What do you like to do for fun? What do you enjoy about being 14?
So one of my favorite things to do for fun is obviously hang out with my friends like every other 14-year-old. I thankfully found an amazing group of friends through the past year of being in 8th grade because I didn't have a really successful 7th grade, so I lost some of my friends from 6th grade. But I regained some and then found some more this 8th grade year. And so I love hanging out with them, and they're just like really supportive, and yeah.
All right, so even though people probably know a little bit about your story from reading it, how do you think you've changed in just the past year? We don't have all day, so don't go into everything, but picture yourself last year at this time.
A really good example is we just went on vacation to Hilton Head, and we did it on the same week as we did last year. So there it really like opened my eyes to how much I've changed and how much I've grown through the anxiety. So last year I was not even gonna go. I was gonna stay with my grandparents, and because none of us trusted that I'd actually do stuff there. And I didn't go into restaurants. I stayed at the condo. I didn't do anything. I barely even went to the beach. But this one, like, I went everywhere. Like, I went to restaurants, and I went to stores and all that stuff. And that might sound like little things, but like,
you didn't do them before because you were so anxious, and we had a very typical fun family vacation.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, so in 7th grade, you really didn't attend many classes at all, didn't have a social life at all.
I didn't even know. I stayed in the intervention room all day. And so you could kind of tell how that affected my social life, because people either thought I was strange, people just didn't want to be my friend because I wouldn't do anything with them. And like, that year, I lost one of my best friends, and then for me being myself again, I gained one of them. I gained them back, and it's just a really good situation.
Because you were going to classes and doing the work, and you actually got all A's.
Yeah.
And so a huge difference. So people are probably wondering, like, how did you make this change? How did you get? You're still anxious.
Yeah.
But you're not debilitating and you're living life. Yeah. So how did that happen?
So basically, not everybody's the same, obviously. So what worked for me was I found an amazing counselor and psychiatrist, and they're just amazing. And basically she just kind of like clicked when like we went in there and saw her. So we've tried out so many, like so many. I probably can't even count, but we've tried out so many counselors, but this one just was incredible and kind of just like helped me in a way that like I didn't picture myself getting help because I never found somebody that can do it. So that was one of them. And just the skills that she gave me, the skills that I've never learned, the skills that I have learned, just done it in different ways. So yeah, just a whole bunch of different things, kind of finding out what works for you, because not everything works for me, and things that I've learned that I've tried so many times didn't work. Like, do you have an example?
Yeah, so it was definitely like a cognitive behavior therapy approach, but it was one who the therapist really understood the severity of it, and it was very slow, and she was very encouraging with the small steps, but getting Julia to take ownership. And then as a family, we did most of it. Julia was seldom attending therapy by herself. It was very much a family, situation so that, you know, myself and my husband kind of learned how to parent her in a way that helped her anxiety versus triggered her anxiety.
Also, just kind of doing what they asked for me to do, because I was somebody who worked really hard and then gave up. Like,
That's
worked
actually
very
very
hard
true.
and then gave up.
When you
So
didn't see like immediate results, you were like, this is dumb, this is
Yeah.
a waste of my time, why am I doing this?
it was it was like a slap in the face, because I was working so hard for like a month or 2
Right.
months,
But then you were still anxious.
and then I was still anxious, which you will be still anxious in 2 months, because it doesn't work like that. You have to like go for a long time and break the habits and all that kind of stuff. So it didn't work for me, and then I just quit and I didn't do anything.
And this was kind of before we met our current counselor.
yes, yeah, this was before.
And you explained that to the counselor, and I think she understood that, and so knowing that was very helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think a big part was you actually wanted to get better.
Yes.
Like, you wanted
Towards
to
the end, where like a year ago I was like, I'm gonna do it, like I'm gonna get better.
Yeah, so you wanted to go there. You never fought going to therapy. So I think
No,
that's really
yeah.
important because nobody can do it for you.
Yes.
So what was the hardest part, though, about, like, you were really
So-
anxious and then you weren't, but, like, what was the hardest part about doing the therapy?
So one of the hardest parts was probably knowing that I'm not gonna have anxiety again, which sounds so weird, which sounds like, oh well, she wanted not to have anxiety, but I didn't. It's weird. So I thought that it was just like a part of me and I was scared to leave it, and I told my parents constantly, I'm like, I'm scared not to have anxiety, because I've had it for basically my whole life, and I've never been without it. Like, I'm still not without it. It's just,
It was scary to lose this part of you that you related to.
yes.
And actually, her counselor said that wasn't abnormal because it sounds really weird. And I was like, what? Why wouldn't you want to have that? But it sounds like it's losing a piece of you. And I think our counselor explained that you're still going to have anxiety, but it's just going to be put in this little tiny cube of a box
Yeah.
where it's supposed to be rather than this giant, enormous thing.
So, like, she explained how everybody has anxiety, but
they always will. It
Yeah.
just won't. Yeah. So that's a very good point.
Yeah.
So now, like you said, you still have anxiety. We still see it creeping in, probably more so than a typical person.
Yeah.
But how do you see your future? I mean, you're only 14, so you're getting ready for high school. How do you see that? Because in the past, you would just always think, I can't do something because I'm anxious, or this isn't going to work because I'm
Yeah.
anxious. How do you see it now?
So, right now, I am kind of like. So, do you have an example that I could base off of?
Well, like in the past, you used to be super nervous to go to school.
Okay,
But
got it.
now, like, high school's coming, and I think,
So, high school is always, obviously, is intimidating. I didn't know how to say intimidating for everybody going in there. But I break it down into like little sections, and I think I would see myself using that for forever. And so yeah, I break it down into little pieces and just go off of that, and I see myself still being very an anxious person when I grow up, but
knowing you,
yeah.
like, can take care of it now, and it's
Yeah.
not going to stop you
Yeah.
from most things.
yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give others? Like, if there's somebody watching this and they're like you and they're curled up on the couch and the parents are losing
Yeah.
their mind
So-
and
I was in like, I probably had my butt imprint on the couch. Like, I was there every day, like almost all day. And for the people that were there, like, I did not think I would get better. I'd be like, I'd rather like die than like live this, which it sounds kind of dramatic, but that's seriously.
Because you were so unhappy.
Yeah, I was very unhappy with like my life, and I didn't see myself going anywhere. But now that I'm like here, I think back and I tell people like work hard, because it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done was get through it.
and you still work hard because there are things you still have to overcome, and it's not
yeah,
easy.
but it's easier than it was.
Right.
And I think if you're like sitting there and like not doing anything and you're just on your phone all day kind of thing, you should probably get up and like do something,
Yeah.
because that's what started it. Like, it's so hard to get up, it's so hard to do stuff. It's kind of like, you know how people say like you're depressed and you just want to lay in bed all day. That's kind of how it feels, even though you're not depressed. But yeah, just get up and go for a walk, and that could be your first little chunk like I talked about. And then go to the store. That could be your second little chunk, or whatever you like feel is in your
what you want to do.
Yeah.
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 Would you say, like, for as hard as it was and for how many times you thought you weren't going to make it as far as, like, going through therapy, was it worth all that to, like, be enjoying life like
Yes.
you are now?
Very much so. But I also wanted to backtrack
go ahead.
on exposure therapy as I was talking about those little groups. So exposure therapy didn't work for me. So do you agree with that? Like, it didn't really
It
work.
didn't work when it was solely exposure therapy.
Yeah.
There was a lot when you mixed it with cognitive behavior therapy and
So-
did small
Yeah,
exposures.
so when I was
it
talking
did-
about those little groups, you should probably go in them in your comfort zone 1st,
Mm-hmm.
and then, like, my comfort zone was get up and walk one loop around the house. Like, I know it sounds so weird, but walk
Yeah.
one loop around the house. Then walk outside, sit outside, and then go for a walk outside, and then go for a walk by myself outside, and then you can go take a drive and stand in the grocery store parking lot, and
just
then
so small little chunks, little baby steps.
that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yep. So was it all worth it though? I mean, as hard as it was, and for somebody who's like, oh my gosh, it took you a whole year.
I don't think it actually took me a
Well,
whole
it
year.
didn't. I guess you're right. But
I
do you
think-
feel good about where you are, even though you had to go through that?
I think it took me about like
Probably 6 to 8 months ish
yeah.
to get.
So
yeah.
it's honestly not that long.
not for happiness.
No, but you're like pregnant for that long. So I mean, it's
So you're
kind of
saying
like
you could do anything for that amount
Yes,
of time.
yeah.
Especially when the outcome is this, and so.
Yeah.
So hopefully this inspires somebody else just to keep going. Like she mentioned, we have been through so many therapists, and I wouldn't say any of them were bad. They just weren't productive.
my style.
You know, they were all nice people,
Yeah.
but we weren't getting anywhere. And it's really, really frustrating when you're not getting anywhere.
Uh-huh.
And I think for me as a parent, I was like, I refuse to give up. There has to be help out there. And I think for her, I think she knew that. But, you know, from a kid perspective, she's not making the phone calls. But when you find that person, you just have to keep going. And then you're like, I mean, we left that appointment like, this is it. There's hope. And so, you know, you're sitting here looking at somebody who we were at rock bottom. And when I read comments from other people and see things, you know, our rock bottoms are all different. But, you know, it was a pretty low place to be. And so to see this happy girl enjoying life and having friends, it shows you that when they say anxiety is treatable, it is. And so I just encourage you to all go get help. Please, you know, if you have questions, what we did, please ask them, or share your successes, even if they're not quite to the point she is now. You know, we were excited 2 months in when something happened. So enjoy those small successes. So thanks for watching.